Good afternoon, everybody. Can you all hear me? If someone could just respond. Ah, cool. Excellent. So, today we're going to begin a series talking about our technology and explaining what it is that Sparkster is really all about. I want to keep these short, maybe 10 minutes or so that people actually watch them. You know, when videos are an hour long, people are reluctant to watch them. So I want to keep them short. I want to focus on, um, you know, a single focus of technology each week, and we'll do these on Tuesdays. So, very briefly, let's kind of talk about the market. I've been asked, what's my opinion on what's going on, and what's my thoughts on, the conditions in the market today. I think that I'm a big believer in the actual technology itself. I'm a believer in what blockchain fundamentally facilitates, and what it's going to mean as a disruption to the world. I'm going to talk more about that later on today. But to give you some context of my thoughts, if you go back to some of the Bitcoin crashes that occurred in the past, 5 years ago or so, or more, people aren't really talking about those crashes today, right? They're more focused on, where we are today. And where we are today in the price of Bitcoin and such is significantly higher than where we were, let's say 5 years ago. So that being said, I'm not providing financial advice, but I'm merely saying that as a believer in this technology and someone that's investing, money, resources, time, and energy into this industry, I think that we're at the beginning of this industry. We're not at the end of this industry. And later on in this, talk, I'll get into why I think that and what I think the true value of this technology really is. So today's topic of discussion is, what is Sparkster and what is Sparkster really all about, right? I've come to learn that for some people this is not so clear. So I want to focus our discussion on that and hopefully clarify what Sparkster all about and what Sparkster's vision for blockchain, what Sparkster's vision for this industry, and how are we making a difference to it. So if we talk about, what's my vision for blockchain, I want you to think about the ICO industry, right? Why did the ICO industry come about? What did it facilitate? It empowered and facilitated people to be able to participate in the funding of companies, right? And this revolutionary technology made it accessible and to some degree, safe, from the perspective that you are issued a token, and that token is representative of your stake in the float of the tokens and such, right? And so from that perspective, it became traceable and trackable, and it introduced trust between you as a token holder and the company that you're participating in, right? And so I think that this is one of the key capabilities that blockchain technology brings about. It enables us to have trust or create trust where it's difficult, or where trust didn't necessarily exist before. Now, I'm not telling you that all blockchain projects are going to be successful. I'm not telling you that any blockchain projects are going to be successful. But I'm merely saying that when you make a purchase of a token, you receive a token, and that token is representative of the total float of tokens. And so you are receiving something in exchange for the amount you pay, right? Okay, so what's this all to do with Sparkster? And what's it to do with, what do I think about what the value and the future of this technology is? So my thoughts on this is that blockchain technology brings about the ability to create trust or to facilitate trustlessness between parties and entities. So, what does this give rise to? This gives rise to, in my opinion, people-powered businesses. And an example of this, and I touched on this on Friday, but an example of this is Uber or Airbnb. These are businesses where the majority of the revenue that's earned by those companies is distributed to the people that are participating in that network. And so my vision of what is the value of what is the value of blockchain is that it can give rise to these types of companies, right? The future Ubers and the future Airbnbs, right? So what might they be? They might be, for example, energy companies. They might be, for example, crop harvesting companies. They might be rain harvesting companies. There might be things that we haven't yet seen or imagined yet. And what I'll ask you to do is to comment below in this video. What are your thoughts on what types of businesses you might create if you had the ability and the tools to do so? So what's Sparkster inside of all of this? Well, you can think of Sparkster as solving the impedance or the barriers to realizing this dream, right? To realizing this vision. So let's think about, well, what's in the way of you or me or anybody else using Sparkster's technology or using any technology, using any blockchain today to be able to build these businesses? Well, one of the inherent limitations we have is that a contract isn't a business. A smart contract is a contract for executing logic, but it isn't a platform for a business. It would be excruciatingly difficult, maybe impossible, to build an Airbnb using Ethereum smart contracts. So the first thing is that Sparkster brings about the ability to create smart software. And this smart software gives rise to these types of businesses, gives rise to the Airbnbs and the Ubers of the future, right? Now, if we're going to realize this vision, if we're going to make this a reality, what sort of things do we need? Well, one of the greatest, complexities here is that building for blockchain architecture is complicated. It's difficult. It's cumbersome, right? And you need to understand blockchain architecture in itself is difficult to do, right? You've got to understand consensus and many other things. So what Sparkster is doing is it's created and providing a set of tools, what we call the Sparkster platform. And the Sparkster platform is a codeless environment. It's a drag and drop way in which you can build software. And you can try out this tool at sparkster.me/try, where you can use our drag and drop tool and create real software. Now there are 6 walkthroughs, and the first couple of walkthroughs are simplistic to get you familiar with the experience. But like in walkthrough 3, 4, 5, 6, you get into building insurance scenarios. You build an Ethereum smart contract, say issue tokens. You build an IOTA smart meter for you to track how much energy you're consuming and pay various people for the energy you've consumed. So we're showing you that you can build sophisticated things with this, and it's just really a taster of what you can do and what you can create with Sparkster, right? So what are we doing? The Sparkster platform, number one, enables everybody to build software without writing code, right? And most importantly, right, without having to learn and understand blockchain architecture, blockchain concepts, and such. It reduces or eliminates the barriers to entry or the friction in adopting blockchain, right? But the second thing that we need if we're going to be successful, if anybody, Sparkster or anybody else, is going to be successful in building software that runs on the blockchain, is we need a high TPS environment. So let me explain to you why, right? Think about Amazon's cloud. How many customers or companies or people are using Amazon's cloud. There must be millions of people using Amazon's cloud. Not just the companies that are building on them, there's probably millions of companies building on them, but there's probably tens of millions of users that are interacting with that software that's running on their cloud, right? And let me give you another example. So someone asked me earlier today, or kind of asked me earlier today, why does Sparkster need 10 million transactions a second when Visa or somebody else might be 25,000 transactions a second? Why is 10 million transactions a second important? Well, think about if you're at Amazon and you're buying something on Amazon's web store, right? So you browse a bunch of products. Every product you add to the cart is a software transaction. So while you may add 10 products to the cart, that's a minimum of 10 software transactions, right? But you only make one payment transaction. So if we're going to run software on the blockchain and we're going to run software on a decentralized infrastructure, right? What Sparkster calls the decentralized cloud, right? Then we need to have an environment that's extremely high TPS, much, much higher than what transaction environments are capable of providing. So these are the two things that Sparkster is really focused on. The Sparkster platform enables people to build blockchain-based software without writing code in a way that's simple and easy and quick, right? We have seen this come to life at more than 100 times faster than traditional ways of building software, at least 100 times faster. And then we need an environment for extremely high TPS. Bring the two together, and you have an environment where software can be built that will run on Spark's decentralized cloud and run on the blockchain. But so what, right? You might ask, well, is this technology for technology's sake? Who cares? Well, I'll tell you why it makes a difference. There's a wonderful book written by a guy called Jeffrey Moore. It's an old book called Crossing the Chasm. I think it's very indicative of the problem we face today in blockchain, which is adoption. So getting the first few percent of the world or the percent of an industry to adopt technology, we are what you might call the innovators or the early adopters. But how do we cross the chasm between early adopters and what's known as the early majority? How do you go from approximately 3% market penetration to the 18% market penetration that would be, or 15 to 18%, that would be considered to be the early majority? Well, these people in the early majority, they're pragmatic people, and they don't adopt technology for technology's sake. They're not like us. They're not necessarily visionaries. They adopt technology when it makes sense, when it's the only way to solve the problem they have. Put another way, they adopt technology when it puts dollars and cents in their pocket, pounds and pence, or whatever your currency might be. And this is the problem that we as an industry have. We don't have a lot of proposals for how blockchain puts dollars and cents in people's pockets. So how is Sparkster going to do this? We're going to do this in two ways. Firstly, let's talk about what value proposition the Sparkster decentralized cloud has over the traditional cloud. So if you think about traditional clouds like Amazon or Microsoft, traditional clouds have, they pay for servers, they pay for buildings, they pay for cooling, they pay for racks, they pay for diesel generators, they pay for maintenance staff, they pay for UPS backup power, they pay for a whole bunch of stuff. But imagine that as as a member of this network, you contributed your device while you were asleep at night. You contributed your desktop computer at home while you were at work and your computer's doing nothing. And that we built a network of, a network consisting of these devices that was a cloud, right? Do we pay any of those costs? Do we incur any of those costs? We don't. And because we don't incur any of those costs, we can provide a decentralized cloud at a price point that Amazon or somebody else could never compete with. And so when you go to a company and you tell them, hey, you can build software and run this on a decentralized cloud, at 10% the price or 20% of the price of what you're paying today to Amazon, that's dollars and cents in people's pockets. That's millions of dollars and cents in people's pockets. And that's why I think that Sparkster is the true journey to adoption, is the true road to mainstream adoption of blockchain technology. So I hope this gives you some insight. I want to keep this short. I will be conducting an AMA at the end of the week where I'll take questions that are not necessarily related to our technology. But one thing that I have been asked with regards to our technology is, what's happening with this credits partnership? What's this credits partnership all about, right? Well, Sparkster's vision is about creating a decentralized cloud, about now allowing people to build full-blown software, powerful software that will run companies and will change the world, right? And to build that software and run it on our cloud, right? What we are not is we are not a payment network or a payment gateway. And so partnering with payment gateways or payment networks like credits makes a lot of sense to us, because payments is something that should be executed on a payment environment, and software should be executed on a software environment, right? Just like, Amazon's web shop isn't a payment environment, right? It's a web shop. And when you want to make a payment, they're talking to someone in the background. In their case, I believe it's Stripe, which in turn is talking to Visa or MasterCard or American Express. So I hope that gives you some context about the partnership we have with credits and the partnerships that we're working on rolling out, right? Including some of the ones that I mentioned here. That being said, I do want to leave you with an announcement before we wrap up today. We have been given the opportunity to exercise a community vote on an exchange, and that exchange is Buybox. Now, Buybox is a small exchange, but as I said in my last AMA, I think that the more exchanges we have, the less friction there is to participate in our network, and the better off we are. So I encourage all of you to, participate, to purchase some BICs for the vote. The vote is on Friday, and hopefully this leads to a successful listing of Sparkster on Buybox. Now, that being said, we are not unlocking. We are just lining up exchanges ready to list Sparkster when we're ready to unlock. This is not a good environment for us to be unlocking the token. Well, that being said, my final thought to bring this all together, right? People-powered businesses are going to change the world. People-powered businesses are going to put many traditional businesses out of business, much like how Uber has impacted and irreversibly changed the taxi industry, right? Irreversibly changed the taxi industry. And the only impedance to that is really the government, right? And much like the Airbnb has impacted the hotel industry, people-powered businesses are the future. They're the future of lending. They're the future of agriculture. They're the future of many, many, many industries. So I invite you, please, in the comments below, let me know what kind of businesses will you create if you could, in plain English, using Sparkster's tools. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. Like I said, I want to keep these short so people actually watch them. Please do share these with your friends and family and everybody that you know, because that's how we're going to get the word out about Sparkster. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye. How was it? It was good.